Hello there. This is your friend speaking. Phil. This is another special message. Even though I'm speaking in a ridiculous voice, I have something very important to tell you. There is a book, written by a certain boy, 12 at the time, about dragons. Yes, his book is very known indeed. They almost made a movie of it, starring Jeremy Irons. Of course, I'm speaking of the famous Dawson. The boy who took center stage in the worst and most embarrassing stage performance ever. Don't know about it? Type that title down on YouTube and you will understand. He wrote a sprawling epic, going so far as to draw sketches and convinced everyone involved that what he thought in the books were real. And now, I present it to you. Day of the Dragon, the audiobook. Read by yours truly, unedited and unabridged. When I say unedited, I mean that literally I didn't cut out any of my mistakes or freakish comments I make while reading the book out loud for the first time. Since he was a 11 to 12-year-old at the time he wrote this and annoyed and tried to get everyone to buy it from him. Nearly everything in this story is hilarious, ridiculous, and is shamelessly easy to make fun of. Everything I've told you so far is true, besides the film starring Jeremy Irons, of course. So, without hesitation, I present to you the most powerful and creative and most hilarious and shameful work known to mankind. So, if everything goes right, I hope you'll enjoy Day of the Dragon, Chapter 1, written by Dawson. Brace yourselves! Day of the Dragon by Dawson Vosburg. Read by Phil Grekish. Chapter 1. Scott's story. They were just ordinary teenagers. Until now. Their names were Ben, Philip, and Scott. They lived in an ordinary town with ordinary people and ordinary animals. In fact, this was probably the most exciting thing that ever happened in Boston. The three of them were close friends. They almost had to be. They were the same age and the same grade. At their school, they had the table that only they used at lunch. They had made special arrangements with the school to have their lockers right next to each other. Last summer, they had saved up and bought a long-distance walkie-talkie system. They were each the only child of their families, so they had nobody else to play with. But despite their closeness, nothing could have prepared them for what lay ahead. On Thursday morning, they were anxious to get to lunch. The day dragged by slower than it ever had before. Each second felt like an hour. But all things must come to an end, even fourth period. Then there was a lunch line, which was also dragged on like the rest of the day. The three could feel a thick, heavy fog of intensity hanging over the whole school, their hearts racing. They finally made it to the table that they always went to. They started eating in silence, waiting for the conversation to spark up. "This is stupid," thought Scott, chewing slowly on his lunch. "Nobody has to talk." So he did. "You wouldn't believe what happened to me yesterday after school," he said, slightly lifting a heavy fog of intensity. "You think yours was exciting? Wait till you hear what happened to me," said Ben. Let's let Scott speak first," said Philip, who was always trying to stop potential arguments. "All right," said Scott. He was silent for a minute, wondering if he should really tell them. He made his decision. It was too late to turn back now. He took a big breath of air and said, "I met a dragon." The other two gasped, their mouths hanging open like dead men's. A full minute was spent in silence. "But how? How?" said Ben, too shocked to say any more. "No, seriously, it's true. I wouldn't lie to you," said Scott. "Okay, here's what happened." And And this is the story he told them. Scott came home and unlocked the door to find his parents were at work, as they always were at this time of day. He remembered that this was the day to take out the garbage, so he took it outside, whistling a cheerful tune as he did. He went back inside to do his homework. He had some fun plans for that afternoon. A few minutes after he had started on his homework, he heard a sound outside, and it jolted him. He rushed outside to see what was the matter. Who or what made this sound? What he saw at that moment never left his mind, for there, standing far over his head, was a huge emerald-green dragon in Scott's backyard. Scott stood there, petrified. He was still as a statue. He thought about all the poems and fairy tales he had read about evil dragons who gnawed at people's bones and swallowed children whole. He tried to scream, but he couldn't make a sound. But he couldn't help but notice that the dragon's scales were exceptionally beautiful as glittered in the sun. They were firm, green, and shiny, as if they had been tediously polished to a perfect luster. His stomach, going in and out with every breath, was a golden yellow. His entire body was edged with muscles, which were strong and powerful. His 30-foot claw-tipped wings were the golden color of his stomach, and Scott watched them slowly fold. His eyes were like cats, each